Hello everyone, tonight we are standing in front of a mirror that should not be here. It leans against the far wall of a forgotten corridor, untouched by footprints, undisturbed by dust, and colder than anything else in the ruined house. You are here. You can see the cracked stone tiles under your feet, the old woven reed mat curling with age, but not your face, not even your shadow. The mirror gives back nothing. Only the faintest pulse of breath against the inside of the glass. Yours or someone else's. You probably won't survive. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is there. Now, turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. You've never been in this house before, and yet your feet know where to go. The outer rooms are filled with the scent of mildew and pine resin, the kind used to line burial urns in the late Neolithic. One jar still sits on the windowsill, sealed with waxy linen and covered in a pattern of 5-pointed leaves, oak maybe, or some forgotten sacred cousin. The mirror arrived 2 nights ago. Not carried, not installed. It was just there, facing the hearth, cold, upright, waiting. The house had always creaked, but now it listens. No one knows who built the house, and no one remembers owning the mirror. Some claim it was uncovered during the excavation of a prehistoric tomb, one of those long barrows where the passage narrows into silence and every torch dies for no reason. Others say it was crafted from volcanic glass by hands that never left fingerprints. You've tried to clean it, tried to warm it, even tried to cover it with linen. But the cloth falls off each time you turn your back. And always there is breath on the inside. Tonight it forms the shape of a child's hand. Small, delicate, almost playful. You reach out, but still no reflection. Just your breath going out and another coming in. Some researchers still argue whether ancient people believed mirrors were portals or prisons. A few old scholars, now conveniently dead, insisted early Bronze Age households placed obsidian mirrors near cradles not for vanity but to trap wandering spirits. It was never about the living at all. So it's funny in a way that you place the mirror in the nursery. You don't even have a child. Well, not one you remember. Tonight the wind shifts. A smell, damp lichen and scorched fur seeps from the mirror's edge. That's new. The temperature in the room dips and you notice that the breath on the glass is gone. Instead, there's writing now. You can't read it. Not because it's in a different language, but because it isn't written. It's a pattern, almost like roots or veins, etched with condensation forming and unforming, as if deciding whether or not to speak. You think about calling someone, you even pick up your phone, but the screen shows a mirror of your hand frozen in midair, not holding anything. Funny. The battery icon's missing too. A low hum builds from the corner of the room, the kind of sound you'd expect from wind blowing across a burial mound. You've read about that. In Ireland's Boyne Valley, archaeologists found ancient passage tombs aligned so precisely with solstice sunrises that some now wonder if they also channeled sound voices of the dead echoing through stone. The hum stops, a soft knock from behind the glass. 1 knock, 2, then breathing again. But this time it's faster than yours. You step back. The mirror fogs completely, then clears. The reflection begins to appear, at first barely there. Then unmistakably not you. It's wearing your clothes, your posture, even your expression. But the eyes don't match. The eyes are older, hungrier. And let's be honest, it looks better rested than you. A joke, of course. You haven't really slept since the mirror arrived. Or maybe you just wake up too quietly. You do a small test. Raise your hand. The reflection doesn't. Instead, it reaches forward slowly, as if offering you something. It's holding a stone, a small polished disc of obsidian, like the kind recovered from Çatalhöyük, an ancient Anatolian city where mirrors were sometimes found buried under sleeping platforms. Some anthropologists believe they were tools for divination. Others say they were just for scaring off rats. Maybe this one is both. You glance down. Your hand is empty, but your palm is warm as if it once held something. The mirror goes dark again. The breath fades. And somewhere, faintly, a laugh like a child imitating an owl echoes from the wall. You don't turn around, not because you're brave, but because if something's already standing behind you, it's too late to greet it politely. Besides, if you turn around now, you might miss what's forming in the mirror again. Another shape, a door this time. It's opening inward. But the room behind it is yours. Your breath fogs the screen. Then something else breathes back. By morning, the mirror is empty again. No breath, no child's hand, no door within a door. Just cold silence. It leans there like it always has, pretending to be just a mirror, just a surface. Still, you leave the room sideways, never turning your back on it. Which is silly. Of course, mirrors aren't predators. Probably. But it's the first time in days you've dared to leave. You spend the afternoon outside brushing leaves off stone steps that don't lead anywhere. The garden hasn't grown in years. Moss climbs the pergola posts, but nothing blooms. Not since the fire. Or the flood. Or was it silence hard to remember which disaster came last? There's no sign of the child, no prints, no voices. You've begun whispering just to hear something human. The refrigerator hums, but the milk goes sour in a day. The clock ticks, but the hands no longer move. It's 3:19 forever now. Which is strange because you woke at 2:17 and saw someone else go back to sleep in your bed. Just a trick of the light. When you finally step back into the nursery, the air is thickened. Something like wet wool or an old coat that's never quite dry wraps around your shoulders. And though the room is empty, the feeling of being watched is unbearable. Which incidentally was the first written complaint ever discovered from a haunted dwelling scratched into a clay tablet in Mesopotamia circa 1700 BCE. It reads, "The presence watches when I sleep." And it is not satisfied with silence. The mirror does not reflect you. But this time it reflects the nursery, the real one, not the one you left. A doll lies sideways on the floor. The mobile above the crib is spinning slowly. The window is cracked, though you never opened it. In the glass, the wind moves. Outside of it, there is no wind. You press your hand to the mirror. The chill bites deeper now. You can feel something solid pressing back from the other side, your palm meeting another. Not a match. Smaller. Then the mirror whispers. You're not sure what it says. Something in a language you do not speak but know anyway. The kind of tongue that predates agriculture. That lived in carved spirals and red ochre caves, a language used to lull the dead back to sleep. It stops when the mobile stops spinning. You pull your hand away. There's a faint smudge on the glass like a residue of ash or salt. The shape is familiar, 5 points arranged in a circle. A flower, a paw, or the soft pads of a small humanoid hand. There's no time to wonder because something's moving inside the mirror again. Not a person too long, too sinuous. It stretches like a root system trying to stand upright. You catch glimpses of bent joints, something with too many knees. It moves like old hair underwater. You look away. Scholars still debate whether ancient funerary mirrors were ever meant for the living. One unearthed in Mycenae was lined not with silver but with crushed bone, giving it a foggy sheen even when polished. One theory suggests they were meant to show the absence of the soul, not its shape. So, your mirror is doing its job. You consider calling for help. Not the police, imagine the paperwork, maybe a historian. But you remember Dr. Menchal, the one who used to lecture on reflective necromancy at obscure conferences? She vanished during a dig in Sardinia, last seen entering a stone chamber filled with mirrored water basins. All they found was her voice still echoing faintly from inside a sealed dolmen. That's the trouble with mirrors. Sometimes they reflect sound too slowly. A joke, of course. But you laugh anyway, quietly. Because laughter feels like breathing, and if you can breathe, maybe you're still real. Tonight you try something new. You bring a candle into the nursery. Old-fashioned wax hand-poured, supposedly lavender-scented. It's meant to cleanse energy according to the handwritten label. You light it, set it beside the mirror, and whisper, "Just behave." The flame flickers, then vanishes. The wick remains untouched. You blink. Now there are 3 candles in the mirror. One upright, 2 melted, arranged in a triangle. A triangle. Like the burial markers at the base of the Elbe River, where Iron Age graves were aligned not with the stars but with each other. Triangle after triangle meant to mirror something seen in dreams or nightmares. Your mouth is dry. You step backward. The mirror brightens. A face emerges. Not yours. Not the child's. It's her. She looks like you, but not quite. Same jawline, different eyes. Pale, cracked lips. No breath, just waiting. She mimics you. Tilts her head slightly, the way you do when pretending to understand something that scares you. Then lifts her hand again. You raise yours. This time your reflection doesn't. She smiles. Her hand goes to her own throat. She draws a line across it, and the mirror fogs again. Just condensation. Just sleep. Just memory. You wake in your bed. Morning light is pouring through the nursery window. You are holding a small obsidian disc. Cold. Polished. On your neck, 5 faint impressions like a child's hand pressed too hard in warning or goodbye. The obsidian disc stays with you now. You try placing it on the shelf, the floor, the garden wall. But by dusk, it's always back on your bedside table, slightly warmer than it should be. You've stopped asking why. The mirror no longer needs questions. Tonight, the house is quieter than usual. Not silent, never truly silent, but deeper. Softer, like breath drawn in but never exhaled. You walk barefoot to the nursery. Your steps don't echo anymore. The mirror has changed again. It's wider. You would have noticed, surely. But tonight it reaches nearly wall to wall, its frame gone, its edges softened into shadow. Not quite a mirror now. More like a surface, a suggestion. A breath held just beneath the skin of the world. No reflection, just the faintest shimmer, like moonlight bending over water you don't remember crossing. A soft sound trickles from it. Not a knock, not a voice, a drip, and another. Then silence. You kneel. There at the very base of the mirror, a single dark puddle. It doesn't spread. It pulses. You touch it. Your finger comes back dry. This is unfortunately not the strangest part of your evening. Because the mirror speaks again, not with words but an image, a field of standing stones half buried in snow. You recognize them impossibly. You once saw a sketch of that place in an old archaeological text, an unverified site in the mountains of Georgia, supposedly used for prehistoric negotiations with breath. The author had been widely ridiculed. His illustrations included mirrors on poles and rows of masks carved from mammoth bone. But you remember the final caption. It read, they called it, the place where air fails to leave. Now you're staring at it. Inside your nursery, a shape walks between the stones. Not a person, not quite. A mask, perhaps. It moves like one. Too smooth, too gliding. You can't see its face, but its steps echo in your chest. They do not touch the ground. It moves toward the mirror and stops. Then it bows. You flinch because your own body begins to bend forward, matching the motion. Not out of politeness, out of compulsion. You are being bowed. It's sort of flattering, really. Spirits don't usually show such good manners. A joke, of course, but your back still aches. Some researchers believe ancient mirrors, especially obsidian, were deliberately buried with the dead, not just as offerings, but to bind something in. In Sayunu, fragments of reflective stone were found in graves too small for bodies. Whisper vaults, one theory proposed. Others believe it was a form of memory storage. Some archaeologists mock this idea. They also tend to disappear during fieldwork. You rise. Your knees shake. The figure in the mirror steps closer. It holds out its hand. And now it's a child again. Or was it always? The mask is gone. Only the eyes remain, those wide, unreadable eyes that look like your niece once did in that old photograph, the one you don't remember taking. You feel the obsidian disc vibrate slightly in your pocket. The mirror breathes out. This time the nursery's window blows open. Cold rushes in. You drop the disc. It rolls, stops beneath the crib. You crawl to retrieve it. Beneath the crib, the floor has darkened. You think it's shadow until you realize its depth. There is space beneath the floorboards now. You blink hard, but the depth remains. And in that depth movement, a small hand reaching up, not toward you, toward the mirror. It curls its fingers against the base. The breath on the mirror vanishes. The figure turns. It is not leaving. It is waiting. You hesitate. This is the part where in any good folklore, the hero does something foolish, crosses into the other side, offers the wrong name, accepts the mirror's gift. So you do the wise thing. You shut the nursery door, and the sound stops. For now. That night you dream of fossils. You are underwater, but you don't feel wet. Around you, thousands of small creatures drift past delicate jellyfish-like forms with faint lines etched into their backs like fingerprints. Ediacaran, your mind supplies. Precambrian, from a time before bone, before eyes. They are not hunting you. They are surrounding you, protecting, studying. One floats closer. Its body forms a circle, a mirror. Your face appears, but it's older, not just tired ancient. Like it's been waiting inside the mirror for epochs, watching through obsidian windows while the world learned to forget. You wake. You are on the nursery floor. The mirror has moved. It now leans just above your head. There is no reflection, just breath slowly clearing. And behind it, rows of faint handprints, all left by the same hand, all reaching for yours. You don't leave the house anymore. Not really. The world outside has lost its color, washed out static, like someone paused it. You stepped into town once to buy fresh bread, but no one in the shop looked up. The cashier blinked so slowly you weren't sure she wasn't just reflecting your own movements. When you returned, the door was open. Not your door, the mirror's. It hangs suspended in the nursery now, untethered from the wall or floor, just gently swaying like a door slightly ajar in a house with no wind. It hums when you sleep and breathes when you speak. The breath is never yours. You've started leaving offerings. You don't call them that. But what else do you call the small arrangements of dried herbs, the pebble circles, the carved bone left at the mirror's base? You found the bone in the attic. You don't own any pets. One night you leave your voice. You record yourself humming a lullaby your grandmother used to sing, upload it to a device and place it by the mirror. The next morning the mirror is singing it back, but not your version. A child's voice, humming in a language that ends each line with a sound like inhaling. No echo, just invitation. Some scholars argue that the earliest mirrors weren't tools at all. Not for grooming, not for light, but for trapping breath, the soul's visible trace. In certain Neolithic graves in Siberia, small polished stones were placed near the mouths of the dead. Not eyes, not hands, mouths, as if to catch the last thing they said, or didn't say. That's what the mirror wants now. Not your body, not even your face, just the breath between sentences. You try to seal the room. Nails, boards, salt. Nothing holds. The next night, the mirror is in the hallway, hanging where your family portraits once were. You swear it's taller again. You close your eyes and touch the glass. This time it gives. Like warm clay, your fingers sink slightly. You feel something cool wind around them. A thread, a pulse. You pull back, but the mirror doesn't release you. It wants you to listen, so you do. The sound is barely audible whispering as if underwater. Dozens of overlapping voices layered like sediment. You can't make out words, but the rhythm is unmistakable, a breathing chant repeated in a circle. You hear the phrase in your mind before it finishes forming. When the breath reflects, the self forgets. And then just beneath that, return what was seen. The mirror finally lets you go. You mark the date on the wall, but by morning it's gone. Not painted over, just never written. Time is loosening. Days blend. The mirror sometimes shows sun when it's raining, sometimes shows snow when it's warm, Sometimes shows you but yesterday's you or a version with your hair parted the wrong way. Last night you caught yourself blinking in the mirror before you blinked in real life. A joke maybe, a trick of light, or a rehearsal. There's a knock at the door. Not the mirror, your front door. You stare at it. You don't get visitors. You open it. No one is there. But there's a package on the step, wrapped in oiled cloth tied with gut string. No label. Inside a mask. Primitive, yes, but unmistakably crafted. Bone polished to a dull shine. Carvings you recognize from a Paleolithic burial site, once unearthed in the Czech Republic. Female figure, owl eyes, spiral mouth. No one had ever published it. You saw it in a footnote of an unpublished dissertation. Your fingertips tingle. You hold it up to the mirror. The reflection doesn't match. Instead, the mask appears on a figure behind you in the glass. You turn. Nothing. You hold the mask again. The figure steps closer. And now the mirror fogs not just with breath, but with heat. Your breath. Their breath. One breath. A single long exhale. The obsidian disc falls from your pocket and cracks. The mirror darkens. And inside it, rows of watchers. Pale faces. Children, elders. Their forms flicker like candlelight reflected in oil. Somewhere in that dark depth, your voice speaks. But you're not the one speaking. The reflection mouths something, and you feel your lips match it. A prayer, a memory, a command. You drop the mask. It lands upright, and suddenly, you can see yourself again in the mirror. But it's not relief you feel. It's the cold certainty that the mirror has finally decided what it wants. Not a reflection. Not a breath. A trade. You don't speak aloud anymore, not near the mirror. Not since it began echoing you before you spoke. Even thinking feels louder now. As if the mirror has tuned itself to you, inhaling every flicker of inner voice, every breath taken on the edge of language. You try to distract it. Music, white noise, sleep. But the mirror hums louder than sleep. It no longer needs light to reflect. At night it glows faintly from within as if lit by embers long buried. The watchers are still there, shadow-thin figures beyond the surface. Unmoving eyes half shut. Waiting. They don't blink. You've tried to measure how deep the mirror goes. You dropped a thread of yarn inside once. It never came out the other side. The reflection swallowed it like a throat, the ripples slow and thoughtful as if savoring the attempt. And now there's something else in the nursery. You find it at dawn, a shallow bowl placed just in front of the mirror, made of blackened stone carved with lines you don't recognize but feel. The symbols vibrate beneath your fingers like veins. You touch one, and the mirror fogs again. Inside a scene, not a dream, a memory, but not yours. A woman stands beside a fire painting a mask with ochre and ash. Behind her, a row of children sleep ringed in a spiral of shells. In her lap rests a mirror of polished obsidian, small, cupped like the one you held. She's not looking at it. She's listening to it. The mirror speaks again. One word only once. Return. That night you begin hearing the voices outside the mirror. In the hallway, on the stairs, in the plumbing. Whispers stitched with your own breath, looped like lullabies. Sometimes they sound like the child. Sometimes like your grandmother. Once unmistakably like you. The same joke you told yourself weeks ago about mirrors being polite predators comes back to you now. But it doesn't land quite the same, because now the mirror laughs. Just once. Short, soft. Not cruel fond. Like something that's been patient too long. You consider smashing it. You even raise the hammer. But the reflection shows your body aging in fast motion. Your arm weakens. Your fingers tremble. You see your own bones. The hammer drops. Some researchers argue the presence of mirrors in burial mounds wasn't about protection or passage, but recollection. A mirror doesn't just reflect what's in front of it, it holds on. A memory vault, a breath archive. One scholar once speculated that mirrors might even trap time not in sequence but in shape. You feel the shape now. It curls in you. You haven't spoken aloud in 3 days. The walls are covered in condensation. The mirror shows the field of stones again. This time it opens. You can see through, not just into. The ground is soft. The watchers step back, and in their place, a child, no older than 5, wrapped in a cloak of woven feathers. Silent, pale, holding something. It's the mask. She walks forward, places it on your side of the glass. It lands on the floor with a soft sound like breath pressed between palms. And then she reaches her hand out. You feel your own move without meaning to. The trade. The breath held for too long. You reach forward. You touch her fingers. The mirror shatters. Not violently, quietly. Like ice melting. And inside it, nothing. Just the room. Your reflection is gone. You sit in the nursery holding the mask. The bowl is gone. The stone floor beneath the crib has dried. The obsidian disc has fused into the floor. The room feels quiet. Empty but not hollow. You breathe once, and then faintly you see your breath rise. Only your breath. No one else's. Not anymore. The watchers are gone. But the nursery still echoes sometimes. You walk past the mirror's frame, now cracked and dull, and hear things you don't remember saying. You catch glimpses of your reflection in other glass shop windows. Tea kettles, dark puddles, but they hesitate. Blink slower. Mismatch your steps by half a second. They're not dangerous, just waiting. And when you speak to them, they nod, as if remembering what you once were, or what you traded, and what breath will come next.